guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who do not know, I am Allie, and today's video is going to be books 1 through 10 that I've read this year. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please get a big thumbs up if you do. If you're not already subscribed, who's going to subscribe would really make my day. And please ignore the bed that's not made. So I have the books written down. Some of them I have here, some of them I do not. So we're going to start with the first one that was a book that I had to read for my class, which was Schooling in America. And at first I was a little apprehensive, but I fell in love with this book. It's called The Teacher Wars, A History of America's Most Embattled Profession by Jane Goldstein. In The Teacher Wars, a rich and lively, unprecedented history of 175 years of American public school teaching setting, Jane Goldstein reveals that teachers have been embattled since the beginning. She uncovers the surprising roots of hot-button issues from teacher tenure to charter schools and finds that the recent popular ideas to improve schools, instituting merit pay, evaluating teachers by student test scores, ranking and firing veteran teachers, and recruiting elite graduates to teach are all approaches that have been tried in the past without producing widespread change. The Teacher Wars upends the conversation about American education by bringing the issues of history to bear on the dilemmas we confront today. By asking, how did we get here? Jane Goldstein brilliantly illustrates the path forward. This is a really, really good read. Highly, highly recommended if you are in education in any setting. Like, I am a teacher's aide. 100% agree. 100% must read. The second book is She Came to Slay, The Life and Times of Harriet Tubman. That was a really, really good book as well. I will link them all down below. I absolutely loved that book. I loved learning more about Harriet Tubman and everything that is that. Number 3 might give me some heat, but it's The Blexit by Candace Owens. I absolutely love Candace Owens. I'm Republican. I absolutely love her. I read her book and it was just so, so good. Highly recommend. Number 4 is Live and Love by Lauren Atkins, which is Thomas Rhett's wife. It all talks about their love journey and their relationship and everything in between, which was a really good read as well. Everything I recommend is a really good read. Number 5 is Admission by Julie Buxbaum. This one is definitely more of a recent with the Times conversation because it's based off of the college admission scandal, and it really, really talks about the children more so. And it's fiction, but it was a really good take on the Times. And I think I want to word this very carefully. Although I am not okay with what they did in any way, shape, or form, and some of the children were complicit in it. Example, Olivia Jade, I struggle with her because she, especially in some of her interviews, because she acted like she didn't know what happened, and then when she did Red Table Talk, she knew what happened, and she knew it wasn't okay. It was a weird, I don't know, she rubs me the wrong way. And I don't know if the rumors are true that her sister posed. I don't know. There are photos that look like her, but again, I don't know, because she has chosen not to speak, and I feel like choosing not to speak, I don't know. So, like, we're just going to use those two because they're Lori Loughlin's children, which I struggle with Lori Loughlin because I loved her as Aunt Becky, but I'm not okay with what she did. And she ruined her career, and I hope it was worth it. That's all I'm going to say. But I struggle with her children because, more so with Olivia Jade, just because Olivia Jade has chosen such a public life. I struggle with the fact that she was very much just laissez-faire about college, and then she got into college, and it just proves that money and power, there's like no rules here. And yeah, it was a really, really good read, and it's definitely a YA novel, and I definitely feel like you can introduce it at the high school level and maybe the middle school. I don't know if 6th grade's too young, but I definitely middle school and high school level, you can have the conversation. Number 6 was my most excited read of the year. I love this. The Rural Diaries by Love, Livestock, and Big Life Lessons Down on Mischief Farm. I rarely buy physical books, but this book I knew I needed to read. I loved her. I love her as Peyton. I love her in everything that she's in. But One Tree Hill is what got me hooked on her. And I loved her in White Collar. I loved her. I love all of her movies that she makes, even the Christmas ones, even though I'm like, I'm kind of over Christmas movies just because, but every movie that she's in, I watch because I love her so, so much. And it's really, really cool that I'm in upstate New York and she's in upstate New York. It's so crazy to me that she lives in New York. I don't know why, but it's just so like cool to me because like she could live anywhere, but she chose a farm. And this really talks about her journey with the farm and her husband, which their relationship gives me hope. Like, so does Thomas Rhett and Lauren Atkins, but this gives me hope in such a different way. And I don't know how to explain it, but it's a really, really good read. Again, I don't own very many physical books anymore, but this book I knew I needed to physically have. Number 7 might get me some heat in the comments, so please don't come for me, but I love to learn. And this is, I forget who it's by. It's The Great Revolt. I'll link it down below. It is all about how Trump won the election. I know there's some speculation on both elections. I'm going to say this now as a Republican, on whether or not it was rigged by Russia, yada, yada, yada. Please do not come for me in the comments about this, but it really, really talks about the politics of it, which is something I really, really enjoyed. And it all talks about like middle America, which I feel like when we have the conversation about the Electoral College, I feel like we need to remember that middle America doesn't have as big of a state as California, and right now I can't think of another state that's big, in Texas. They have very much, like, the Electoral College helps them. And I'm not saying that it's a perfect system or that it's a system we should get rid of or not get rid of, but I just want to throw that in the conversation before we go any further, because I feel like because I'm talking about this is all going to come back to like bite me somehow. But I really, really like reading it. It's a really, really good read. I highly recommend it for both sides of the aisle, because I feel like there's a lot of conversations in there that both sides of the aisle needs to remember that's a big part of this issue, especially since middle America are big farmers. And I know farming is going to open up a big can of worms there too, but please don't come for me. I just like to read and I love to learn. And I have read books. I just want to also preface this, that I have read books on both sides of the aisle. I just got done, which is book number 11, Promise Me Dad by Joe Biden. I'm not a Joe Biden fan, sorry, but I loved his book and I loved learning about him and I loved reading. Me choosing to read, I choose to read. Reading is something I love to do, and I love to learn about people, and I love to learn about political figures and history. It's just something I like to do. And I am definitely more of a moderate, socially Republican, but a lot of things I am very much a conservative on. So please just don't come for me, okay? That's all I'm going to keep saying with that story. Number 8 is Pride by Ibby Zuby. I believe I said her name right. This is a remake of Pride and Prejudice, and I absolutely loved it. I'm usually skeptical of remakes of Pride and Prejudice just because I love the original. It's everything that I need is the original, but I really, really liked this version. There have been a few remakes of Pride and Prejudice, book-wise, but this one was so, so good, and I really feel like it's a good book to bring in that's YA, that's high school level and middle school level again, just because it is also, I want to word this right, please don't come at me if I word this wrong. I also feel it's very important because it is based in, oh my goodness, my brain's spacing, but it's African American literature, which I feel is important to bring into the high schools and the middle school levels, because I feel like as a student, there wasn't much of it. Again, please don't come for me. Number 9, The Art of Forgiveness by Catherine Schwarzenegger Pratt. Forgiveness is so, so hard. I'm speaking from personal experience right now. There is something going on that I'm not ready to talk about that involves me forgiving people in my life, and I'm struggling, and that is part of the reason why I picked up this book. I needed guidance on how to forgive, and although I believe in God and God has been calling me to forgive and calling me to move forward with this situation and be on my own and remove the issue from my life, but also forgive. I have been struggling with forgiving certain people because I feel certain people failed to protect me in ways that they don't understand that they did wrong, or that they choose to ignore or choose to believe the other side. And I'm not going to get into it right now, and I don't know if I'll ever really get into it. I'm not in that space yet. And I've gone to therapy and I've talked to my therapist and I've done all the things about it. And honestly, at this point, it's pretty much just me needing to forgive these people and remove them from my life. And I'm not sure how to do that, and I'm not sure how to grapple with forgiving them, because I feel like in this situation, I don't understand how, I'm trying to say this without giving away too much, how it can be so swayed and so one-sided, and so like, why is it always me having to give and give and give and give to this relationship? And I want to preface this by saying it's not a dating relationship, because usually when I say that, people are like, oh, well, dump the person. It's not that, and it's not a friendship either. It's a familial relationship. And I just keep giving and giving and giving to it, trying to make things better, trying to make things work, trying to be like this person that they want from me, and it's not working. So I've tried to set up boundaries, and the boundaries are pissing them off, and it's kind of like Simone Biles situation where they're like, where she's like, I'm setting a boundary, and people get mad, and it's 100% accurate, because it's like, I'm setting a boundary. I'm telling you that this is how it's going to be from now on, and if you can't handle that, then you need to not be a part of my life. And I'm really having like an ebb and flow, like really struggling to my core with this, because I want things to be better, because they are family and I want them in my life. But I'm learning that in this situation, I need to forgive and remove them from my life, the two people from my life, as hard as it's going to be, and put some space between us, and just choose to forgive and move forward and have a lot less contact with them, if that makes sense. So that is how I ended up with that book. And and there's like a lot of stories, and it's a really, really good read, and it's beautifully written, which sometimes when it comes to actresses, I get a little worried about like beautifully written stuff. Like Hillary's book is beautifully written, and so is hers. Number 10 is going to get to me a lot of heat, because I know that there's a lot of people on both sides that feel a little weird about him, but it's a really, really good read. And it's Stamped: Racism, Anti-Racism in You by James Reynolds. And if I botch your name, sir, I'm sorry. Ibram X. Kendi. And it's a really, really good read. It's not a history book. I'm going to read you just the thief known as racism is all around. The construction of race has always been used to gain and keep power, to create dynamics that separate and silence. Racist ideas are woven into the fabric of this country, and the first step to building an anti-racist America is acknowledging America's racist past and pageant. This book takes you on a journey showing you how racist ideas started and were spread, and how they can be discredited. So this was a really, really good read. I read it because I felt like there was a lot of things that I could bring into the classroom in discussions with certain grade levels. I felt like it needed to be, I thought it was a good book for me to read. And not just because I'm white, but because I'm also in education. And I feel like teachers, regardless of the aisle that we stand on, side of the aisle we stand on, and regardless of how, I want to word this right, regardless of our political belief, regardless of how we may feel about certain policies, practices, yada, 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 that we need to acknowledge that there is a unfair disadvantage in schools. And a big way to address that is the racist backbone issues of our country. It even talks about it in Teacher Wars. Like, there is a racism element to education, and a lot of disadvantages that we need to address as an education system as a whole and as educators. And that is a big part of why I read this, to understand more. And it's a really, really good read. It's definitely YA. You can definitely introduce this at the high school level, maybe upper middle school. I'm not a middle school teacher. I'm not a high school teacher. So when I say that, it's because I am familiar with early elementary and primary grades. So my knowledge of the upper education is very limited. That's why I say I don't know where the curriculum stands and what wiggle room you have, because I also know in New York State, you have to teach the standards. And again, I don't know much about the curriculum at those levels. But this is a really, really good read. I highly recommend it if you are working in education. I feel it is important that we have these conversations and that we are constantly learning. So that's the first 10 books for the year 2021. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please get a big thumbs up if you do. If you're not subscribed, please go and subscribe. Really make my day, and I will see you all next time.